Welcome to the Building Brands Through Distributors training program. The online training program in which you're about to participate is designed for supplier representatives who sell through beer, wine, and spirits distributors. The primary goals of the e-learning training program are to define proven management processes and the critical skills needed to effectively manage and build professional relationships with distributor partners. The program is conducted by Bob Brown. In addition to being president of Sales Systems Development, Inc., and prior to that, National Director of Sales Training and Recruiting for the E&J Gallo Winery, Bob has conducted over 500 seminars involving approximately 10,000 supplier and distributor sales and management personnel. He has conducted training for most of the leading beer, wine, and spirits suppliers, over 100 wholesaler sales organizations, and been a featured seminar leader at over 30 beverage industry conventions.
All right, building brands through distributors. I've had senior management in front of you saying at the opening of this session that this is the most important training program you'll go through. Why? Because distributors are the biggest resource. They are the gateway to the marketplace. You want to reach the consumer in the U.S., you go through them. And therefore, we have to understand the world they work in, what they expect, and how their business operates in order to be effective. Their business has changed. Our business has changed significantly. What's the implications of that? What's the implications of that? It changes the relationship between suppliers and distributors, right? So, but some things haven't changed that much. Some things haven't changed that much. What hasn't changed is that there are today, just as there were 30 years ago, certain supplier representatives who get attention for their brands beyond the contribution to those brands to that wholesaler's sales and profit. And there are also supplier representatives who get less. So given that, we're going to cover six fundamental goals. We're going to look first at some fundamentals. What is it about a supplier that gains time and attention for their brand? We're going to look at four key things that make a difference. And we'll also talk about what is it they want from a supplier that makes a difference in how they perform. So that's the first area we're going to get into. Second area, we're going to look at the role of a supplier representative. Those of you who've been around for a while, you've seen a lot of mistakes, a lot of ways they've screwed up, and a lot of ways they've hurt their business in a market and in their relationship with a wholesaler. So we'll talk about what some of those are, and we'll look at DMs. You've got good ones, and you've got ones that are above the line. And we want to look at what the difference is. Not just mistakes, we want to look at when you're doing it right. What's that extra mile that puts you above, head and shoulders above the rest? We're also going to look at two key ideas. There's going to be a big takeaway here on how you add value. Two different approaches. We'll go through some examples, and typically this is one of the things that people take away from here that end up really producing some additional results if it's an approach or a technique that they haven't used in the past. And we'll introduce you to, in essence, an overview of the distributor management cycle and how they all fit together, which we'll really dive into later in the session in one of these other points. We're going to take a look at what's going on here and now. Here we're going to get into talking about managing distributors. The point is it all revolves around the plan. Where you are, what you need to do to get yourself on track at the end of a given month, the next month, so you deliver the year. So we'll get into things, and a key idea, I'm sure you've heard the term so far, SMAC objectives. SMAC objectives, SMART objectives, they're basically just another simple acronym. But what brings it to life is if you know the four pieces of information and use them in setting that objective, that makes it meaningful. Otherwise, it's just another bullshit acronym. So we'll dig into that and make sure we know and understand it as we go through it. We'll talk about programming, both from a strategic standpoint and a tactical standpoint. 5 dimensions of a program, do's and don'ts with incentives, and also some ideas from an offensive and defensive standpoint in managing the distributor through the process of handling the portfolio. Fifth key area, and this is the one that is really we direct ourselves towards. The key activity that you engage in a market that makes the difference and what goes on, and what all your other activities are shaped to lead towards the productivity of, is the review meeting. That's where you impact the behavior of that distributor for the upcoming 30, 60, or 90 days and determine what gets done or what doesn't get done, and also whether or not people are held accountable. Last area, understanding distributor organization and operations. Again, those of you who spent some time with wholesalers, you know the perception of supplier representatives is that they don't have a clue what goes on in the back room. So we want to look at the way wholesalers are increasingly looking at managing their portfolios, and they're getting more sophisticated. When you see changes like this, what you find first and foremost is distributors are a hell of a lot more sophisticated than they were 3 years, 5 years ago, or 10 years ago. And that comes down to how they're going about and thinking about the portfolios they have and allocating time and attention to given suppliers in that portfolio, in their house. We'll look at some financials, what some of the numbers are in terms of margins, in terms of a number of other areas. So that's essentially what we're going to cover, 6 major areas that we'll be working our way through. The Building Brands Through Distributors training program has 3 hours of formal instruction. In addition, practice exercises are included to provide interaction as well as develop skills. You can reduce your costs further by having several of your people take the program at the same time, which will provide the opportunity for even more discussion and interaction. The program has been conducted for a number of major as well as craft breweries, wineries, and distilleries. The value of the program is supported by the fact that several major clients have used the seminar version of the same program for over 20 years. Thank you for visiting the demo.